Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel and welcome to video 8 in my holiday gift guide series. I can't believe I did 8 of these, but you know, sometimes you just have a lot of books to share and I could not make any decisions as I crossed my legs. That looked weird. But I wanted to tell you guys about so many books. I hope you have liked all of these and I hope you find some books that you give out as gifts this year to the readers in your life. Now this is my general fiction category, and as I said in my last video, you guys know that I am more of a dark fiction reader, so most of these have sort of more of a dark tone to them. Not all of them, but some of them. And all of them are fantastic novels, definitely for the readers in your life. So I better get started because you can imagine this pile is very big. And I cannot start this group without recommending probably my #1 read of the year, and that is Red Clocks by Leni Zumas. This is a futuristic, as in set just more or less tomorrow, where the Roe versus Wade and reproductive rights have changed. The laws have changed in America. We have 4 main characters and a 5th periphery character. Each main character is dealing with the idea of fertility and pregnancy and motherhood in a different way. This book has its own, and then the 5th character is actually a woman explorer that one of the characters is writing a biography of. All of them are very much connected. All of them, their sections are told from the point of view of what they are: the biographer, the mother, the daughter, and I can never remember the last one. And the woman who sort of does the herbal medicine to help women through times where they can't get the help they need from the general medical public because of the laws changing. It has its own very unique writing style that I found powerfully poetic. I love this book. It was the 3rd book that I read this year and I am still talking about it. And so that's Red Clocks by Leni Zumas. You guys, please, if you have a reader in your life that likes this type of stuff, I recommend it big time. The next book I'm going to tell you about is Mr. Flood's Last Resort by Jess. This is called The Hoarder in the UK. This book is about a woman named Maud who is taking care of a man who does have hoarding tendencies, but it's really a murder mystery. She finds out that the wife of this man died under mysterious circumstances, and then there's another young woman who disappeared. And yeah, so interesting, so good. It's a little bit quirky because Maud, our main character, can see saints, and they sort of play the chorus role from, if you think about the Greek chorus, they sort of have this sort of in and out. They give her advice. They have their own opinions. It's very clever. It's laugh out loud funny at times. Her best friend is, how do you describe her? She's just amazing. She's a transgender woman. She deals with her own things in the book. They're well handled. The relationship is good, but it also has a mystery aspect to it. Who did what to whom? Who is who? What is real? Highly recommend. Really enjoyed it. That is Mr. Flood's Last Resort by Jess. This is out from Atria Books, and I should say that Little Brown put out Red Clocks. And I will tell you, I still am thinking about Red Clocks as I sit here because, yeah, it's so good. Another book that I read this year that I absolutely loved was The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkai. This is out from Viking. The Great Believers is, I'm not going to really talk about it much because I have talked about it a lot on my channel because it's amazing. This is 2 stories. One is 1980s, 85-86, during the Chicago AIDS crisis. We have a young man named Yell who is dealing with the AIDS epidemic in his friends group, as well as dealing with trying to curate an art exhibit for the Northwestern Art Gallery. The second section is told in 2015. It is a mother on the hunt for her daughter who she has been estranged to, and her daughter has moved to Paris. And this is after fleeing a cult. You guys, this book is so good. I read it on 2 plane rides and bawled my eyes out, and it is amazing. It made me buy all of Rebecca Mackay's other books. That's The Great Believers. So good. For those of you who like a more sort of just immersive novel that you will get lost in and love, just love. It's so good. Next on the list is Bury What We Cannot Take by Kirstin Chen. I read this, I want to say, is it this month or last month? This is a story of a family in China, and during the revolution, and the father of the family has been in Hong Kong for some time, and they want to escape mainland China. They have a plan, but something horribly goes wrong, and they have to leave one of their children behind. This is the story of them, most of the family, getting to Hong Kong, and of the young girl living in China by herself, not quite understanding what has happened. There's a lot of political interest in this book, and I learned a lot about China in and of itself. I also learned a lot about Hong Kong. I loved the main character. I want to say her name is San. Yes. For some reason in my head I wanted to say Sansa, but I was like, that's Game of Thrones, Russell. San is just a great young little child, and you will really be rooting for her and her storyline. But it also has sort of sense of realism that was really powerful, and the story was really well told. So that's Bury What We Cannot Take by Kirstin Chen. Yeah, I really recommend this one. I recommend them all. This book was the talk of the town last year, but it came out in the US this year. So if you guys haven't read Tin Man or given Tin Man out to the reader in your life by Sarah Winman, this is out by Putnam, and this is a beautiful edition. Imagine unwrapping this. This is really the story of a relationship between two men and also a man and his wife. And it's about love, it's about making choices, it's heartbreaking. There's not much to say because I know a lot of people have talked about it. But if you didn't read Tin Man this year, or the reader in your life didn't, get this book. It's a slip of a book, but it will break their heart. It's so good. And this edition is so beautiful. So beautiful. Putnam really did it. Sarah Winman is one of my favorite writers. I've read everything she's written. I think she's freaking fantastic. So Tin Man, Sarah Winman, definitely. If you for some reason missed this last year, get this to your reader this year. Do it. The next book is going to be in a video, I'm assuming, when I talk about my favorite debut novels of the year, and that's Ohio by Stephen Markley. This is a story of a group of friends who come back to a small town after the Iraqi war. This is about the mystery of what happened to them all, told in 4 parts by 4 very different points of view. We learn about this friend group and who they became as adults, who some of them didn't become as adults because of the choices they made. This is a dark version of a northern Ohio, I want to say it's northern Ohio, the Rust Belt town, and it's about, it deals with opiate addiction, it deals with alcoholism, it deals with sexuality, it deals with just small town mentality, it deals with trying to figure out who you are and who you want to become. It's got a mystery that runs through the whole thing. It's compelling, it's a fast read, it's so good, you guys. I will say at times a few of the characters get a little preachy on a few topics, but it didn't derail anything. I think it added to sort of the sophistication of the book, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I will be looking for everything in fiction that Stephen Markley puts out next. So this is Ohio, highly recommend. The next book that I am going to recommend was also on the shortlist for the National Book Award, and that is Where the Dead Sit Talking by Brandon Hobson, and this is out from Soho. Who did Ohio? Gosh, I'm getting bad about this. Simon and Schuster, just saying. This is from Soho Press. This was shortlisted, and this book is fantastic. This is a story of Sequoia. Sequoia is a young man in the foster care system in Oklahoma. He is also a Native American. This book is about him going to a home, meeting a young woman, and finding out who he is. Sequoia is one of the most fascinating characters I've ever read about. Dark and interesting. And Rosemary is the young girl that he develops a relationship with. I want to say it's not romantic in nature, but it's complicated. And there's a lot to be said about, it's about mothers and somehow sometimes they let their sons down. It's about the foster care system. It's also a lot about Oklahoma. Oklahoma definitely has a voice and a character. I had never heard of Brandon Hobson before this book, and I am now a huge fan. And yeah, super excited to tell people about this book. And I want as many people as possible to read When the Dead Sit Talking by Brandon Hobson. So good, you guys. Really, really good. Another book that is likely going to make it into that top debuts that I read this year is A Kind of Freedom by Margaret Wilkerson Sexton. This book was out last year, nominated for the National Book Award last year. It was longlisted. This is the story of three generations of a family. We have the matriarch in the 40s meeting the man that she loves, who is not who her family wants her to be with. We have a young mother in the 80s who is dealing with a husband who is dealing with drug addiction. And we have a man in current times who has been imprisoned for selling marijuana. And then he comes out, finds out that his girlfriend is pregnant, and what decisions he's going to make. This book is so good, really delves into all of these different time periods, really brings all of the families together. I really recommend this, you guys. A Kind of Freedom by Margaret Wilkerson Sexton. It is out in paperback as well. This cover is so good. Counterpoint Press, never let you down, promise. Yeah, really good, really interesting, really dynamic. So if you have people who really like that. I saved this one for last because I would argue it's the darkest book that's on the list. But I read it this year, and I have not forgotten about Girls Burn Brighter by Shobha. This is out from Flatiron Books. This is the story of two young girls in India, Purnima and Savita. Purnima is of one class where Savita works for her father. It's about their friendship. A lot of horrible, horrible things happen to both these girls, but it's about persevering through all of that. And really, they do wind up in America for very different reasons. You guys, it is dark, and it is powerful, and it is eye-opening, and it is amazing. And I know Shobha wrote a short story collection, which I have on my shelf, and I definitely will read all of her fiction. This book has stuck with me, and it's really, really eye-opening, and I would love to talk about the ending with a bunch of people. So that's Girls Burn Brighter by Shobha. It is dark, though. Do not give this book to people in your life who only like happy endings. This will not be that book, but it is so amazing. Gosh, this is a big stack of books. Oh, goodness. Try to hold them up there for you guys. Oh, can't even get them right. So as always, if you are new to my channel, thank you so much for coming over. I hope you got some gift ideas. Gosh, this is a pile. If you are a return subscriber, you know I couldn't do this without you guys day in and day out. As always, until next time, happy reading. I'll check on you later. Bye.